So yes, I like to work in a team setting. Let's get this job done. Let's go. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I have your wrap-up question here.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is there anything else that you would want us to know that you've not already had the opportunity to share with us?
Well, yes, ma'am. I'm glad you asked that question. Actually, I was a little nervous last night. And my almost fifth grade grandson, which I helped raise, and he was one of the reasons why I started volunteering at Castelar, was with his brothers. He said, "Papa, if you get nervous with these people, you need to pretend that you're reading to first graders." So once upon a time, ladies and gentlemen, here I am. There's an opening here, and I'm sure that you, ladies and gentlemen, are going to pick the best gentleman or the best lady to succeed Mr. Palermo and Mr. Vargas. I didn't know you were here, Tony. So I do appreciate I'm honored that I was able to be here and address you wonderful people. And by the way, congratulations to you. So with that, I guess that's all I have to say.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Slape, for applying for this position.
Yes, sir.
On behalf of the Omaha Public School Board, we would like to thank you. I know this is not an easy task, putting yourself in front of the cameras and speaking in front of the public, and we thank you so much. I'm going to give you next steps. And actually, since you're the last interviewee, I guess that's how you say it, right? We're going to bring in the other three applicants, and we're going to start having our discussion and select the applicant for
Okay.
Sub-District 9. Thank you, and
Thank
good
you.
luck.
Okay, so I'll try to wait until they're all in the room so they know what we're doing. Okay, so what we will do now is essentially as a board, we will you can go get coffee, it's fine. Essentially as a board, we will have a discussion. I think I've emailed and spoken with all of you already, but we're not going to do a motion first, we're going to do a discussion first to give everyone a chance on the board to talk about things they heard tonight. If there's a particular candidate that you feel strongly about, strongly positive about, encourage you to share that with your board members so that people can get a sense of where people are, and then if you have a feeling of the board, you can make a motion. There is some sample language in e-meetings. You'll notice that it says they be sworn in as soon as practicable after the adjournment of tonight's meeting. We are going to follow similar to when we appointed Dr. Holman, with not throwing a person into the middle of a meeting, but having them come in next week to get officially sworn in so they can get on email list, get up to date on information, and then be publicly sworn in at our first board meeting in July. So if board members have comments or discussion, let me know and we will start a list.
Don't all raise your hands.
Yeah, don't all speak at once. What was that? Mr. Snow,
Oh, Mr. Scanlon, I think, had his hand first. I apologize.
Mr. Scanlon.
I just had a question for my own clarification about, I'm not going to get the last name right, Eric Servalon, is that?
Servion, yes.
Okay, Servalon. I'm not familiar with the reserves, but I know as an active duty military member, we were not allowed to hold a public office. Do you know what, or is there anybody that knows clarification? Is that,
I did ask my commander, there would be no conflict there.
okay, what would happen if you were to go on deployment?
If I were to go on deployments, I would have at least about a year in advance of notice, and I would be able to, I've already deployed once, so in the National Guard, we get a little leeway on if we go on a deployment,
Yep.
future deployment or not.
And If you could repeat that so that the mic can pick it up, so that's on record. Yeah, please, thank you.
Yeah, I already spoke with my commander, and he said that there's no conflicts there. If we were to be deployed, we would have plenty of advance notice. I've already deployed before, so I have more leeway on if I go on the next deployment.
I guess my question then is, if it were to happen, what does the board do? Does it fill that seat, or does it just remain vacant for a year, to where we just have 8 members? I'm not familiar with the answer.
I'm going to look back at Ms. Neela's spreadsheet to see if she can find anything. I know I believe she is going to call and double check, but I know I believe one of our NRD boards does have at least one reserve member. So I know that is not a thing that has not happened before.
Mr. Scanlon, I'd have to probably look at that issue. I don't believe that there's necessarily precedent. Probably keep it vacant would be my initial gut reaction, but I would need to look it up to see if there's any precedent with regard to that.
Okay, thank you. If you could find any information, that would be helpful.
Mr. Snow?
Yes, so I will go through and I would just kind of give my highlights on each candidate, if that's okay. So with Ms. Cassidy, sorry about that. I do admire your background with the district and your kids and your involvement, as well as your human resource background. I think as a board, we don't have anybody in that field, so I think you would be a great asset to that. To Ms. Garcia, I think you have a great story, and I admire your compassion and your counseling experience of working with students, especially with your history with DACA. I mean, having someone from South Omaha really come and speak to that to truth really sits home with me, even though I work in South Omaha, I don't live there, but it really shows that you really care about your community there. Eric, Mr. Salvino, I'm going to slaughter your last name, I apologize. I admire your aptitude, your strength, and what I see with you is unity, teamwork, and you said it earlier, consensus. And that is something this board is working, and we've been wanting to do, and we continue to do, and having an asset here at the board, bringing that consensus together. Mr. Slape, I've never seen anybody, and I'll be honest with you, as a community advocate like yourself, be passionate about kids. And I admire that, someone that's in school every day, helping and looking out for our kids and the next generation of our students. So I just wanted to give my highlights of each person, and I think whoever we select would be a amazing fit to Sub-District 9, replacing Councilman Benny back there. Thank you.
Mrs. Godding?
Well, first, I want to thank everyone for applying and for putting in the time and the effort, because I know it takes a lot and you needed to contact people and all that. So thank you very much for doing that and for putting yourselves out there, because that shows that you care and you love OPS, which is really, really important. So one of the, I guess we'll just start with Ms. Cassidy first. I appreciated, and I know I've mentioned this before as we've gone through these processes, just the acknowledgement of the selection of the superintendent and the evaluation process. And probably being in HR, you understand that very well, because that's probably one of the most significant things that we do, is to make sure that we're on track and that we stay on track. I appreciated your natural flow that you showed, and just responsiveness to questions, and the fact that you have students currently in school and can relate very much to what's happening. So I thought that was a very big strength of yours. Ms. Garcia, I appreciated just the knowledge of all the time that you've had in different capacities helping our students and working with our students, which is great, and just sharing about the responsibilities that you see us having as a board and what we need to do moving forward. And all of your volunteer roles. You have a lot of those. I'm just going to say Eric, because I know everybody else has struggled, so I'm sorry. I still don't have it down. I think the background you have with the military is certainly something you spoke passionately about, and that teamwork piece of that, which was great, and just having been a student at Central, and your love for the district was great. And then, Mr. Slape, I don't think I've ever seen a grandparent as energetic as you in volunteering, and so I have to say thank you so much for everything you do within the school system, and also as a part-time driver for STA. Or is that right? Yes. Is that what I read? And the recognition you'd received there as well. So obviously doing a job well for our students currently. So thank you.
Ms. Ryan?
I'm going to kind of follow what my colleagues have done as well, and just thank you all for applying. I think you were all wonderful, and I love the passion from everybody and the dedication that you have to the district regardless. So, Ms. Cassidy, I do really like that you have that communication and public relations background, and that's something that as a board that we need to continually work on, and I think it would be a really great asset to have somebody on the board that does have that background. And similarly with your daughters, having them in the school and that you're involved, that's also very great, and you and your husband being products of OPS. Going in order. Ms. Garcia, also being a bilingual liaison at Boys Town, correct? That is great. We need to make sure that we're able to communicate with all of our constituents, and when there's parents who don't necessarily speak English and having a large population of Spanish speakers, I think that is phenomenal, and we also have that in the other our other applicants as well. And that a lot of your story reflects what some of our students are going through. Being a parent of a student parent, that's important. That's a perspective that not a lot of people have and that we need. And I really appreciate you sharing that story with us, because I do think it adds a lot of insight. Mr. Savion, I appreciated how much you can tell that you did your homework, and a lot of it. And you prepared. You mentioned the strat plan, the bond. You used our mission in your our mission and vision in your opening. You talked to Mr. Cano. Just having it, you had mentioned that you watched previous meetings. So that's something I feel like as going into this, it gives you a good feel of what it's going to be like on the board. And so I also appreciated that. And Mr. Slape, I love, once again, your energy and that you were at the end, how you read to us like you would. I think it's important to recognize that this is something that is really scary to do, like going in front of all of us like this, and you started the PTO back up when you didn't have your own children in there. So I think that's just wonderful, and it's a hard choice.
Dr. Holman?
Thank you all for spending the evening with us and interviewing for this position. We really appreciate it. I was just there not too long ago, so I understand the pressure that you're under right now and how you're feeling. I'll start with Ms. Cassidy. I like that you pointed out the fact that our role is oversight and evaluation of the superintendent, because that is a major role in what we do, or major responsibility in what we do in our position. I also appreciate the fact that you mentioned class size and overcrowding as one of the greatest needs or threats facing our district right now, particularly in Subdistrict 9. And you recognize the fact that, we are working towards trying to figure out a solution in getting our students proper space that they need for their education. I also appreciate the fact that you mentioned that you love to debate. Well, I don't know if you love to do this, but that you debate why public education is important and why it might be better than other options. I think that it's important that the person that we have on the board recognizes the importance of public education and our role as board members in a public education system. Mr. Eric, is that okay? I just don't want to mess up your last name. I'm so sorry. There were several things that you mentioned that I took note of. The fact that you are aware of our strategic plan, our district strategic plan, and how important it is and the role that it plays in helping to lead our district. I like that you mentioned also that one of the board's role and responsibilities is being a steward of the OPS mission and vision, and the fact that you actually know our mission and vision says a lot about your preparation and your efforts in wanting to be prepared for this interview process. In regards to student diversity, you delved a little bit deeper in mentioning about our refugees and our migrant populations, and just even as how your experiences has taught you a little bit more about the diversity that we have and how OPS holds diversity high. And then also, you mentioned the fact that you feel that you might work even harder since this is an appointed position versus an elected position, so I can definitely respect that. Ms. Garcia, I think that your role in being a bilingual community liaison says a lot about your passion for working with students and connecting our students and our communities to the resources that they might need to help them persevere and to be successful. You mentioned one thing that I think is very important, which is our teachers and our staff being possibly trained on trauma and the recognition of trauma and how trauma actually affects our students daily, socially, emotionally, physically. And I think that this is definitely something that our district should be more aware of, and at least in providing trainings for our teachers so that they are better informed or better prepared to work with our students who are considered students of trauma. So thank you for bringing that up. I think that you're very well versed in what you do and in volunteering in the community and working with our community, and I appreciate your efforts and your commitment to in working along our school board through the position that you do every day in being a liaison and working with our students. So thank you. And Mr. Slape, number one, as my colleagues have also mentioned, I just really appreciate, number one, your energy and motivation throughout the entire interview process. You were a great lead into ending our interviews for the night, so I appreciate that. Yeah. I also love that you've been so active in the Castelar community for so long, and that you put forth the effort to reactivate the PTO. Our PTOs and our PTAs are so important and such a critical part of our schools, and the activities that we are able to provide for our students, and having an active organization within the school is very critical in also for student success. I'm glad that you decided to not wait until 2020 to run, and that this opportunity became open, and that you decided to go ahead and apply for this position, because I think that you will have a lot to offer our board.
Right, and I think I saw Ms. Neelis Brash in the back nod that she may have an answer to our earlier question.
Mr. Scanlon, in response to your question, if you look at 55-160, all employees, including elected officials of the state of Nebraska or any political subdivision thereof, who are members of, and it goes through, can have military leave of absence, so.
Thank you.
Thank you for finding that out for us, Ms. Nevis Brash. Other board members? Ms. Williams?
Well, I'm going to break the tradition, and I'm going last first. So, Mr. Slape, you're up first for me. First, I want to thank you for your level of engagement. It is intense and purposeful. Something I also noticed on your resume and your application, I noticed that you're very tech savvy and you have all of the social medias, and that is something that really stood out to me, and I appreciate that because we do live in the world of technology. And what a great role model for all of our citizens that, you know, this is the 21st century. And so that really stuck out to me. So I do appreciate that. And you also show that regardless of where you are in your lifespan, that you can still give back and you can inspire and encourage the masses. And that is very important, especially from my purview of working with the community. So I do thank you for that. Mr. Servian, did I say it right? Yes, ma'am. Yay. First of all, thank you for your service to our country. It takes brave soldiers to keep us safe, so I do appreciate that very much. You have a great level of passion for the district. You have a great passion, you exude that passion for young people and for the community. Which is phenomenal to see. And the one thing for you that stuck out for me is that when you answer the question about vouchers, charters, and tax credits, the only profit is for the community was something that I wrote down because that to me really stood out. And so I really appreciate your stance and that you believe in public education, and that is very crucial for where this board is. And we are going to be leading the state in pro-public education, and that is something that is very important to the journey because regardless of all of the other challenges and the great strengths that we have here, that's still something that we're going to be facing and fighting. And so I do appreciate your very passionate perspective on that, and that is something very crucial to me as well. Ms. Garcia. First, thank you for your dedication to our community. Mentoring is huge for me, and what you've done, not just for your service and working for the district, but what you've done for the community and the South Omaha community I can't say thank you enough because you've impacted and affected lives and generations of families. And so you've made a difference already, and you will continue to make a difference whatever decision we make, but I really want to thank you for that. And I also circled some of your commentary on the vouchers, charters, and tax credits. The fact that charters don't address special needs and IEPs and support families in the way that public school does. That really stood out to me. So I really want to thank you for being very thoughtful about that because that is very important in our role as well. And finally, Ms. Cassidy. It's hard to go first. And your last statement was, I'm glad I was first. And you came and you showed up, and so that was great. You seemed very calm and at ease. But the things that for you that stood out for me was that communications background. And that is something that as a district, we are working on building that relationship with our community. And it's all about communications. How are we communicating to our public? And so I find that one of your assets. And I also am a parent. And so I understand what you bring as a parent. You bring something different as you have that experience. And those of you that are parents and grandparents, you also bring that as well. And that's very important because we are leading the future. In my own experience, it was being a parent gave me some different insights, but it also helped me collaborate in a different way as well. So I just thought that was important. And then a couple other things that stood out for me. One of your greatest strengths of the district, the programs and services to the diverse population. You didn't just go racial, ethnic, you went programs and you went skill sets. And that's something for me that why I'm here is because we need students to be globally competitive, and it's those skill sets and to promote what we are doing here. There's always challenges, but that is a huge strength and something that we all should be focusing on. And then lastly, just the transparency is obviously very important to me, being transparent in what we're doing. So those were the strengths that I saw in you as well. So I do want to thank all of you for coming out, and it's freezing in here, so thank you for bearing the cold. I'm shivering. But thank you, and for staying late. You all know that this isn't the easiest thing to do, but all four of you came, you showed your passion, you showed your strengths in various areas. And so I just want to thank you and commend you for being courageous and stepping up. And you've already got started with the media, so you're almost one step in now, whoever gets this. But good luck to all of you. Thank you for your service. And regardless of what happens this evening, you all have served our community and our country in a way. And I would ask that you continue to do that and to reach out to the next generation or the student or the staff member, the teacher that you can help and encourage to grow and help be the best public education advocates that this state has seen. Because I believe at OPS we are making the difference, and we will continue to make a difference. And it's not just this board, it's not just the staff, it's everyone, it's our community members, it's all of you that are doing this work every day with a passion and commitment to seeing our young people be successful. So thank you all.
Mr. Perlman.
Well, I think my comments would echo everything that we've heard so far. So I would actually like to move to make a nomination. It would be Tracy Cassidy. I would nominate her. Oh, sorry. No, my computer is not in front of me. Apologize for not having the wording. I recommend that Tracy Cassidy be appointed to serve the remainder of the term for Subdistrict 9, and that she be sworn in as soon as practicable after the adjournment of tonight's meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Perlman and a second by Mrs. Gotting. Is there any further board discussion? And I was actually going to jump in and talk, so I'll do mine now. I do want to say I was really impressed by all four of our candidates tonight. I think we were very lucky that we have people who are interested and willing to step up and serve in this position, especially recognizing, obviously, I represent part of South Omaha, and this is the other part of South Omaha, so it's something that's very near and dear to my heart, too. And I think this is a very hard decision because you all show your passion for OPS and you all have something different to bring to the table. You've all been parents or future parents or students in OPS and have worked with different programs and in different schools and have different connections to the district. Yeah, I am confident that our board will make a good decision tonight. Ms. Ryan.
Miss Cassidy was, she is in my top two, and then my other choice is Mr. Servion. And just one thing that I really want to make sure that we're considering is somebody who's going to be an advocate for consensus building. That's something that we're really working on, and that's something that Eric has thoroughly talked about, and I think that's really important, and I would just really want to make sure that we're considering that as well.
Mr. Scanlon.
I would just like to thank all four candidates for coming out and putting your name in the hat and stepping out and thinking about serving a public role. And whether you're selected tonight or not, I would recommend when the election comes around, don't be afraid to, go out and campaign, because right now, it's just 8 board members that are selecting it. We're not 100% representative of your constituency. So we'll do our best job to try to select somebody that we think will represent Subdistrict 9, but by all means, this doesn't mean that you can't go run when the term is up. So, but thank you very much all for coming out and putting your names in and interviewing. Thank you.
Ms. Williams?
So, Mr. Servian, I do, the consensus building, and I understand that. And so that gets a nod, because it's to me, it's not necessarily consensus building, it's you're building and you're aligning with your peers and you're working through differences. And then Ms. Cassidy, just, working, you brought up in your current role and your skill, talents, and experiences in HR, the personnel conflicts and dealing with those challenges. And I believe that is something that you would bring to our board and help facilitate some of those conversations, because that's the role that you do as well. And I also think that those are some strengths that could help us with some of the other areas that we struggle and are challenged with. And so there's just, you each have a different level of expertise that I think is great. I'm looking where we are now, and that is something that very much appeals to me, and where we are in our board development and training and moving forward. So I just also wanted to say that to both of you as well.
Any other board discussion? If not, our motion that was made by Mr. Perlman and seconded by Mrs. Goding to appoint Tracy Cassidy to serve the remainder of the term for Subdistrict 9 is on the table. Roll call, please, Mr. Ray.
Ryan?
Can I make a preface? It's not, no, but it's not because of that.
So no? Okay, Scanlon?
Aye.
Snow?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
Goding?
Aye.
Hallman?
Aye.
America?
Aye.
Perlman?
Aye.
7-0.
Motion passes. Congratulations to our new board member, Ms. Tracy Cassidy. And again, I want to echo a very large thank you to our other applicants interviewed, and to echo what Mr. Scanlon said. This is an appointment, and it is through 2020, and there will be another election then. And so it will be a seat that is up for election. And we have an odd pattern of people in Subdistrict 9 moving on to other offices, so.
Ms. Cassidy, do not run for any other office, please. We do not need.
We cannot legally hold you to that. If I can draw the board's attention to item K1 under receipt of reports, we have the annual financial statements and independent auditor's report for the Land Utilization Commission. Mr. Snow, do you have a motion for closed session?
I apologize. I move that the Board of Education go into closed session for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals, to discuss with the superintendent, secretary to the board, Dr. Turnquist, Mark Warnicki, Connie Kanoki, and legal counsel, negotiations, pending litigations, you're fine, real estate, and legal advice.
Board members, I need at least 2 more people at the table, please.
There we go. Teamwork. You're good.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Right, we have a motion by Mr. Snow and a second by Mrs. Goding to go into closed session. Roll call, please, Mr. Ray.
Mr. Scanlon? Mr. Snow?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
Gadding,
Aye.
Hallman,
Aye.
America,
Aye.
Pearlman,
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
7 aye.
Motion passes. Let me remind the board that the purpose for closed session is for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals to discuss with the superintendent, secretary to the board, Dr. Turnquist, Mark Warnicki, Connie Kanoki, and legal counsel negotiations pending litigation, real estate, and legal advice. Let the record reflect that the board went into closed session at 9:34 p.m. Let the record reflect the board came out of closed session at 10:25 PM. Let the record reflect the meeting is adjourned at 10:25 PM.